Hello and welcome to another episode of GOA365's Face to Face. Now today we have a guest who's not normally part of what we do on Face to Face. And to cut it short, I will first introduce him and then we can go into the details. Greg Pardo from the US Consulate in Mumbai, the spokesman. Greg, welcome to our show.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. Happy to be in Goa.
It's a pleasure. Now Greg, what brings you to this side of town of ours?
Well, excited to be here these next couple of days. We are visiting a weather station that we, together with the U.S. Department of State, that's my agency, together with the Bronx Community College in New York and IIT Goa, they installed a weather station a year ago on campus there at IIT Goa. And so it was a great example to see American and Indian students working together to install a weather station that helps monitor weather patterns, AQI, which is a big issue here. And so we're going to visit it along with a group of journalists who are going to see what do U.S., American and Indian university partnerships look like. Right, that's a good example there. And so we're visiting that and obviously just meeting with friends here in Goa who work in media and business and higher education.
The collaboration between India and the US has slowly been increasing, right from the times like Manmohan Singh times. Then relations were not so good, but then it moved on with. Then it's getting better and better. But India also has a huge diaspora in the US. Plus, coming back to you, you also have something which is very common, at least to Goa. You also share roots with Mexico and Goa, Portuguese, Spanish, Mexican, as they like. Quite like Portuguese.
Yeah.
Well, do you find anything here?
Well, I'll start off with the second question. I think with Goa having Portuguese influence here, the Portuguese were here for the longest time. They left behind a part of their culture here. My mother's from Mexico and the Spaniards were there for the longest time. And so whenever I come to Goa, I see the architecture and it looks extremely familiar. And obviously the warmth of the people, the vibrancy of the culture, the colors, the food, it reminds me so much of
the food.
Yes, the
Greg,
food.
The food.
It reminds me a lot of my Mexican-American heritage back home and on our cuisines. But you know, that again, it shows you how closer we are together as people than we actually imagine. And so we share so much in common. And that goes back to your first question on the US-India relationship. In the past 20 years, 25 years, it's grown so much. Right now, if you want to talk about the economic side, we're at $200 billion in trade.
Which is huge.
It's huge, and it's a big difference from 10, 12 years ago. If you want to talk about defense trade, it was almost at zero in 2007. Now it's hitting 20 billion. So that's on the economic and the defense side, but you look at the number of students from India studying in the United States. I think 12 years ago when I first came to India to work at the embassy, we were around 1 lakh, 99,000, 1 lakh. Now it's at 2,68,000.
Doubled.
Yeah. And it just shows you those ties that continue to grow, and I would say they're growing really fast. I think myself as a diplomat and other diplomats, both I think American and also my counterparts, my friends, the Indian diplomats, we see this as we try to help facilitate, but we also try to help get out of the way because there's so much going on between people to people, and that has really been led by the Indian diaspora as well. They have played a big role in helping establish university partnerships, helping with business ties, cultural ties, even setting up sister city initiatives. You know, they're a big reason why this weather station too has been established here at IIT Goa between Bronx Community College and IIT Goa. And they play a major role. And there was a recent study that came out by an organization in the United States. And they said, okay, while the Indian diaspora only makes up 1.5% of the American population, they contribute 6% of the tax base.
Wow.
That means they're just really successful. They're in business, they're in medicine, they're in science and technology.
Hospitality.
The
motels are mostly
exactly. You have those.
Gujarati community.
Now you have
Punjabi restaurants.
You have big businesses there. Now they're involved in politics.
Yes.
You have people who are in elected office, from both Democrat and Republican. party sides they're involved.
You might have an Indian origin president soon. We don't know that, but I'm just saying.
Exactly. And it's so fascinating. I think there's a lot of excitement around that, where on one side, on the Democratic ticket, you have Kamala Harris, who has ties to Tamil Nadu.
Yes.
And who could become president. On the other side, you have on the Trump ticket, you have J.D. Vance, whose wife is Indian American.
Yes, yes.
So you might have a second lady who is Indian American.
Either way, we don't lose.
So it just shows this importance, the important role that the Indian diaspora has played in American life, and our relations between the U.S. and India. They've played a huge role in it.
Earlier, it used to be like only Indians used to be, in software as coders, as XYZ. Then afterwards, it was the Gujarati community who went into motels and then like dollar stores and the 7-Elevens. But today, it's become much more, right? Because now we're talking about people who are at higher at Senate level and like now even
Vice President.
You
have Vice President Kamala Harris. You have researchers. I mean, you look even at Vice President Kamala Harris's mother. Her late mother was a scientist. She was working on cancer research. And now you have people who are artists. I mean, you look at Kal Penn, the actor. He's Indian American, Gujarati American. He's an actor in Hollywood. He also served in the White House during the Obama administration.
Oh, this I was not aware.
He was one, and I think he now teaches a course in acting. But yes, they've become major players in business, and not just on software, but tech software, but also in other areas like art, cuisines. I mean, you look at the chef Padma Lakshmi. She has her own show called Tasting America. And it just shows
ironic. An Indian
exactly Tasting America and showing the diversity of cuisines. They're just playing major roles, and I also have, just personally, I have many friends who have parents from India who they themselves were born and raised in the United States, and they're very successful in law and medicine, engineering. It's great to see, and it just shows you it's another example of how America can accept people from around the world, and they become Americans and they become contributors. And in this case, the Indian diaspora has been a major contributor now to our economy, to our social fabric, and to the US-India relationship.
Actually, going on to exactly, the US-India relationship is something that I wanted to talk about. Now, it's good politics is good economics is good politics. That is one place where India and US, I think, are just starting. It's a huge, but it can become even bigger because there's so much today, technology and research, plus shared values, huge populations, huge, so much. So where do you see all this going?
I think we
see everybody, sorry to interrupt, but everybody talks about just the defense, but no, that is just a part of it.
It's just part
That's of it. So because it's good business, good for business, as they say, and so that probably is the driving force which actually is pushing, or I may be wrong, I don't know, you correct me.
I think we're working on so many different pillars that I think it's difficult to say it's because of business only or because of defense only. I think they're all working in tandem with each other. Recently, Prime Minister Modi was in the President Biden's home state of Delaware, where President Biden hosted him at his house. And we talked a lot especially on ISET, the initiative on emerging critical emerging technologies. And so what does that mean? It means we're really looking at new ways where we can partner on helping establish and strengthen India's role in the semiconductor area, also in the global supply chain, right? We can work on issues like clean air and renewable energy. And how do we do that? I think one area is by creating more university partnerships between US and Indian universities who can work on these areas. Say for example, we can work on areas like finding renewable energy, on improving it, R&D, right? And making sure that's linked with industries, the industry sector.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so that's really pushing it a lot, the relationship. So we see a lot of scope there to continue to work together. Also recently, we had the Building Financial Futures Roadshow where 4 to 5 pension funds from the United States worth over $1.8 trillion came to visit India.
It's huge.
Yes, they came to visit India and they met with different Indian policy, private sector and public sector analysts just to see what the landscape is in India. Because what we see is it can benefit pension fund holders in the United States, but it can also help take that money and invest it into infrastructure in India, aviation, airports, pharmaceuticals, and it helps both countries.
Absolutely. Because
And so,
yeah, we need the funds and we have so much which we can offer the US. Basically, that's what you're saying.
oh yes, both sides, we both benefit, and I think when we both work together, it's not just going to benefit our two countries, it benefits the region, it benefits the world.
Absolutely. You know, it's so, I don't know how to put it, like whether it's you can call it funny, it's ironic, or just something that we've moved on. Like my dad was like he used to represent like he's been a part of the UN and all that. So he used to go to the US and all that. So he was telling me the first time when he and my mother went to the US, people like the delegates and all, and they asked him, so do elephants still walk on the roads in India? See, from those days to now, how much has this relationship? They didn't know. They knew that India was there.
Yeah.
But you land of snake charmers and elephants.
Oh,
so
gosh.
today, when you talk about transfer of technology, and
Yeah, we're transferring technology. We have
semiconductors. You just spoke about,
semiconductors.
which is cutting
We're working
edge.
together on space cooperation,
Yes.
space exploration.
Yes, just imagine from
ISRO and
snake
NASA,
charming. and
We're doing
elephants.
so much. I think it's just seeing India's growth, economic growth, and its growth on the global stage has really started to change that perspective. The other area that it's also helped change, I would say, key element that's helped start changing that perception of India is the diaspora, right? Introducing their American fellow American citizens to what Indian culture is. What is India? What is India doing now? I think the other thing too, you have great cultural ambassadors. I would say one, like Priyanka Chopra is
Jonas.
The Jonas is that connection.
Yes.
Imagine that's US India dosti.
Exactly.
She's done a great job also showing what India's doing. I mean, she's one of those cultural ambassadors. You also have people like Padma Lakshmi who's able to show a different side of India. Or you have comedians like Veer Das who travels a lot throughout the United States. But the other thing I think has also helped is, for example, with these digital platforms, like the streaming platforms, whether it's Netflix or Amazon or is it Disney, they've given an opportunity for Indian filmmakers to show different stories of India. And it's not just a Bollywood film, it can be a film from South India. It can be an independent film where you have like the elephant whisperers, right? You're talking about what's happening in conservation. You have great films like anything from like, I think one of the films that we really liked watching back home was Made in Heaven, that one show about Indian wedding event organizers. But what is good there is that it shows you the different aspirations from everyday Indians. Or one show I love watching is Panchayat.
Really?
Oh, I love it. मैं थोड़ी हिंदी बोल सकता हूँ, मैं समझ सकता हूँ.
You speak better than me.
I watched it and I love the story about this young man who goes out, who wants to go to MBA school, but he goes out to work as a panchayat secretary. You know what that shows? It's not your traditional Bollywood film like the Karan Johar type films, right? It shows like, this can also be just any American kid also looking for ways to discover himself while he prepares for an MBA, or if she's trying to do something different. As an American, I can relate to that, even though it's, this is an Indian story. And the other thing is too, it shows me the Indian countryside or the rural side. I think that has really helped change the perception of India because these social platforms. It also, you see, India landing on the southern point of the moon. That's a big deal, and people are hearing about that. And so it does change. Our ambassador, he jokes that while he is the American ambassador to India, sometimes he feels like he is the Indian ambassador to America. And so one thing he's really focused on is trying to bring in more American students to India. to discover different parts of India, not just the capital in
Yeah,
New Delhi
Bombay,
or
Delhi
Bombay.
or whatever,
Come to a
yeah.
place like Goa.
Absolutely.
See what is happening here, how people are using the tourism sector to help diversify into, say, the startup industry. See what's going on with ports. I came in as a student as well in 2005. I went to Delhi and to Ranchi, Jharkhand
Okay.
to study economic growth. Not once did I think I was going to come back as a diplomat, but how that trip exposed me to India. Our ambassador came here to study Hindi when he was a student, and our consul general in Mumbai, he spent 1 year in Coimbatore, and he actually learned Tamil. He lived with a
That's
Tamil.
tough.
Yeah, it
That's
is
some
tough.
achievement.
Yeah,
Tamil,
so-
Malayalam, those are like
gosh,
achievements.
yeah. So we're trying to encourage more students to come here, more universities to bring students to the United States, encourage more more American universities to bring American students to India, but also maybe create opportunities with companies. Maybe they can offer internships for an American student to come here to see how it is to work in India, because they might be our future business leaders who are leading this U.S.
Who knows? You don't know. yeah.
India business relationship. So we try as much as we can to try to facilitate that exchange.
Actually, one point we forgot. Just before we came in, you were talking about Virat Kohli, the T20. Now we are taking cricket. I would never in my wildest dreams would I think that there would be a cricket tournament of that magnitude in the US. You talk about American football, Michael Jordan. We play. I mean, like all of us idolize the guy and all that, Magic Johnson. But actually, you guys got to see cricket in the US.
In the United States.
That was a shock. In fact, initially when we got the news, I mean, we got it a little earlier. This sounds like typo or something, but then it was actually it.
Oh yeah.
How was it taken there? I'm just saying. I don't know. I don't know if I'm putting you on the spot. But how was it?
I know for us as diplomats, we were excited.
Really?
And we were really excited because then we get to
Not apprehensive. People are going to come and watch. When you watch.
No, yes, we were saying, okay, hopefully there's
Somebody's
a good
gonna
turnout.
come and
There's a
watch.
good turnout. We made a big deal. We were fortunate enough to meet. We hosted Virat Kohli at the consulate, and I was able to be a part of that where we hosted him for a video shooting. He was a great guy. So for me, I was bragging to all my Indian friends. Guess who I just met? Virat Kohli.
That's
himself.
a big deal. Yeah, those guys
That is
must
a
have
big
been. Oh God.
I would show them pictures like, who is this guy? And they're like, that's Virat Kohli. You don't know who he is? I was like, I'm joking with you. But we were really excited because, one, cricket was being played in the United States and obviously in the West Indies. But it was a great opportunity because now it was an opportunity for us as Americans to show how we appreciate a sport that India loves. I mean, it's all.
It's a craze, like a
it's
religion.
a craze here. I think it was also exciting for the diaspora because now they don't have to just watch their favorite team, their Indian cricket team, play on television. There's an opportunity to go watch them in person, and you're in the place you're living in now. And so I was excited because it happened in my home state of Texas. As well, right? Now, could the pitches have been a little better? Maybe, but it's a good
experience because
it's
I
an
know,
experience. But it was also a great opportunity. It's a great introduction for Americans because in the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles, cricket's an official Olympic sport now. So it's a good teaser or introduction to Americans of what cricket is and why it's a big craze in many countries such as India. And obviously I think the cherry on top was India winning the World Cup.
Yes.
I was like, this is great. And of course I started bragging more about my meeting with Virat Kohli because I was like, I met him before he won the World Cup. But I think, just think about it this way. So obviously basketball, American football, baseball, they reign king in the United States. I still remember in the early 90s when before 1994, soccer or football, people played it, but they didn't view it. They're like, everybody else plays it, we don't play it. Then the World Cup happened in 1994 in the United States. And since that happened, the growth of the Major League Soccer has
and big stars.
So David Beckham went. Messi recently went and played for the MLS. And it's just great for soccer fans. Obviously, the American women's soccer team has won a few World Cups, and that has helped. And so I have a gut feeling that that's going to grow. The fame of cricket's going to grow like that too, because of the diaspora, because we hosted the World Cup, and then with the Los Angeles Olympics happening and cricket being played, I think it's going to be a great opportunity again for the U.S. and India to share something, share a sport.
I think also the West and South No doubt, but there's not such a craze of like Indians from this side to go so much to the States. It's more the north side. But still, like the other day we were just talking about it, your visa line is like it's worse than the Marutis and the Suzukis. It's 365 days for your visa to come up. That means a lot of Indians want to go there. For what? I have no idea. But 360, I was shocked. I thought waiting for a Mahindra was like 4 months,
gosh.
5 months was a long.
So
and you all have so many consulates. It's not that you have just one.
We have the embassy, and then obviously 4 consulates. One in Mumbai, one in Hyderabad, one in Chennai, and one in Kolkata. And obviously there's going to be 2 more that are opening in the future, one in Bengaluru and the other in Ahmedabad.
Okay.
We recently announced the release of 250,000 visa appointments, because we know people are waiting a long time and we want to bring that number down. 2 years ago when I first arrived, that number was over 1,000 days. Now we've brought it down to 300. Yes.
It was worse?
It was worse, and especially because of COVID, and then there was this huge demand with the number of business going on between the US and India, students studying in the United States. But over the past year, there's been a 35% increase in the number of Indian citizens who have US visas who travel to the United States. I think there's 1.8 million people who have traveled this past
Tourism?
year.
Or
For tourism, business, studying, work. Last year we adjudicated over 1 million visas for Indian citizens, and we're on the path to break that record from last year. And the way I look at it is like, obviously we're working on bringing down that wait time, because we know people want to visit their family members. Many parents want to visit their children who are studying there. Grandparents want to visit their grandchildren. People want to do business, or people sometimes just want to go do tourism. And so we're continuing to work on bringing that number down. But just on Tuesday, we released 250,000 visa appointments. So we're going to continue to work hard on bringing that number down. One thing I wanted to say, again, like the number of students studying from India,
it's a lot.
It's a lot, and it continues to increase. We're going to see a new number coming soon, where it actually breaks last year's record. And
I thought numbers had gone down.
They hadn't gone down. Last year, we reached a total number of 268,000 Indian students studying in the United States. It's an increase, and we actually issued more visas to students last year than I think 2018, 2019, 2020 combined.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, that's a lot.
Students still view us as a great destination, and we love it because Indian students they bring so much to the table, to the classrooms, their knowledge, their cultural experiences, and that's something that helps enrich our classrooms in the United States.
So before I end, Greg, where do you see us going? Where do you see India-US relations going in the next 5 years, maybe?
I think we're going to continue to work together on, obviously, the business and the economic and this defense ties continue to grow together.
Really.
And I'm really confident that happens, regardless of who becomes president in January. We're going to have a new president, whether it's a President Harris or a President Trump. We'll have a new Paris. But I think either or, they're going to continue to work on that relationship. In the next 5 years, 6 years, I think with India, we believe that India is going to become the 3rd largest economy in the world. We also we have a big belief in that. And I think together, I think we're going to be working on a lot, whether it's space cooperation. I really feel like we're going to be working a lot together on university partnerships to do research on important issues like, trying to find ways to find a cure for cancer, for example.
That's a big,
working a lot together on new technology, especially with AI emerging so quickly. I think semiconductors. I mean, you see this Apple assembling more and more.
I was going to talk
iPhones
about Apple
in India. You're going to see. I think you're going to see more of that, and I think it's only going to. I think the future is in India.
It's not just assembling. The thing is, once upon a time, like I had friends, or like if you travel to the US or wherever, Canada and all, people, iPhone was a big thing. No, today in India, in Goa, no, like, see, I am a hardcore, like, Android, but for, for reasons you may have. Today, it's like everybody, iPhone. Like, I was like, what? Like, this you saw in the US, earlier, or not even in Europe, so much more US and Canada. Today it's become in India.
Oh, yeah.
If without an iPhone, like, why? Literally, you will be shocked, Greg.
Yeah.
That sort of, culture.
Oh, yeah. I have a good friend who I studied with in undergraduate school, university in the United States. He's from Delhi. And he said, Look, 20 years ago, we used to get excited about our relatives coming from the United States because they would bring us like stuff that chocolates or shirts from the Gap or Banana Republic or whatever it is.
Yeah.
He's like, now I don't have to worry about that. I can just go to the mall and buy Gap, or I can go buy an Apple product. And so yeah, it just shows like the amount of growth that has happened in India it's growing at an amazing rate, and I think we'll continue to work together with India on a variety of areas where we can partner together. But it's just been fascinating. I think me coming in as a student initially in 2005 and continuing to come back, it's been a real honor just to see how much India has changed in the past 20 years and for the better. And one thing I love about India, aside from the food, I love the food and the culture. It's just the sense of aspiration.
Yeah.
No matter which
The vibe.
The vibe. No matter
that
which
you could get once upon a only in the US. Today it is there in India.
It's here in India, no matter where I go. And I've been to places obviously in Goa. I've been to places like Mizoram and Tripura, Bihar, Punjab, Tamil Nadu. Everywhere I go, there's this aspiration that, we're going to reach beyond the stars. And I'm just really happy that we've been able to be a partner with India as it continues to reach for higher goals. And
yeah, I'm sure that'll happen. But just before I end, we are out of time. Just before I end, I would like to, reverse this Apple thing so like a couple of some of my relatives wanted to go to the US for a holiday. So they were talking, okay, what do we need in Goa when we go to the US? Then another one says, no, you see, I just spoke to my friend. You get all the masalas there, all that, you don't have to worry. But we have, no, you don't worry. So, Apple phone in Goa, okay, but like Indian masalas are available everywhere. So that is something that we were shocked about.
So a little bit about me. For example, my wife is from the NCR area. And she's from India.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah, she's Indian. And when we were in DC, we would always go to this one Indian grocery store, and we would find every single thing she needed. Obviously, there's, I think, a very famous grocery store called the Patel Brothers grocery store. It's huge. You can get anything you need from India now there. And it's fascinating. Like, even my mother, she's visited India a few times, and she likes Parle G biscuits.
Wow.
There's a Mexican-American woman loves Parle G biscuits. So she said, yeah, sometimes I go to the Indian grocery store
to pick up
Parle G biscuits.
That I feel is one of the achievements of India. That you get all the food, you don't have to otherwise wherever we go, we always carry a masala. You go to the US, there's no need. Thanks a lot, Greg. It was a pleasure hosting you. Thank you. This was Greg from the Mumbai Council of the United States, the spokesman. It was a pleasure for us to get a sort of an insight here in Goa, in our studio, about what's happening in the US, how the US views us, and what possibly the US and India and Goa also in that small scale can possibly see in the next 5 years. Thank you again, Greg.
Thank you for having me.
Keep watching GOA365.